Hello again, Charlie Stevens here. Today I'd like to teach you how to read music on the guitar, starting with our first string. So if we recall from our names of strings video, the first string is tuned to high E, or just E. We call it high E to distinguish between the other E string that we have, the low E string. But this one, the first string is called high E, and where that is in the top space of the treble clef. So in the treble clef we have 5 lines, 4 spaces, and in the top space, that one is the note E. So when we see that one and we see a note written in the top space, we just play our open E string. Okay, so that's the main thing we need to know, where that E is. Okay, so when we see that, we play open E. Now, what if we wanted to play the very next note? Well, if we remember from our musical alphabet, there is no E sharp. So on the very first fret of my E string is actually the note F, right? So that's right here. It's going to be on the first fret. Since it's the very next thing in the musical alphabet, I can find it right on the first fret. So there's F for you on the first string. Okay? Now, today we're going to learn about the natural note names. So we're going to skip over this next one. If we kept going through our musical alphabet, we would get to F sharp, and that would be located here on the second fret. We're not going to worry about that one too much today, and we're going to go right to the third fret, which is where we can find the note G. Same as our open G, an octave away. Okay, so those are the 3 main notes. We actually have every note in the musical alphabet. It would just go in order until we got back to E again on the 12th fret. But typically the way that we learn how to read on the guitar is like this. If you get a beginner's book, most of them teach it in this way. So I'm not claiming to have any sort of inspired idea here. I'm just going to kind of show you how all of the books show you how to get started. I think it's a really good and logical way. So we're learning those 3 notes, where they are, and now we'll get a little practice playing those 3 notes as well, okay? So we're going to go through the different types of rhythms that we have, starting with the whole note. So the whole note gets the whole measure. So that's going to be 4 counts. We're going to pretend we're in 4/4 time here. So I'm going to play the E and count to 4. And in the second measure, you can see that now there's a whole note, but it's on the F line, on the top line, right? So that one I'm going to play for 4 beats as well in the second measure. Then in the third measure, now we have a note that's actually above the top line. Let's see, every good boy does fine. F-A-C-E. Hey, we don't have a thing for above the top line. What is that? How do we know what note that is? Well, it keeps going in alphabetical order. Since that top line is F, the thing right on top of the top line, right above it, that's going to be G, and that's going to be right here on the 3rd fret. That particular G on the guitar, we play right here. Okay, and we'll play that for 4 counts as well. And then it looks like the next measure goes back down to F, so we'll go back to our 1st fret, and we'll play that for 4 counts. And then in our last measure, we have an E note again on a whole note, so we'll play that one for 4 counts again. Okay, so very simple. I'm going to go nice and slow. Try to follow along with me. Ready? So we're going to read through example 1 together. Okay, now we're going to try to read through example 1. I'll give you a measure of count off, and then you can try playing along with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I even mute my string at the very end after that 4 counts, so we know that that was a whole note and we actually stopped the sound. Okay, so that's something you can do as well. So that's it. That's example number 1, all whole notes, okay? So if that was a little too fast for you, feel free to pause the video, just read through the music and go at your own pace. Then maybe try again playing along with me when you feel comfortable, okay? But it's really just that straightforward. We play the note and we count to 4. Now we're going to do basically the same thing in example 2, but now we're going to use the half note rhythm instead. So now we're going to try example 2. So this time I'm going to pluck once on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. I had to pluck again on beat 3 to equal the full measure. Each one of those was half the measure. So once for 1 and 2, again for 3 and 4. Okay? Here we go with example number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that was example number 2. Okay, now we're moving on to example number 3, which is exactly the same as the first two, but now we're using quarter notes. This is actually easier for me and with a lot of beginner students I work with, because earlier we had to play the note and then count and wait until it was time to play the next note and be really careful with our counting. We're still doing the same thing, but with quarter notes, we actually get to pick every time we count. Quarter notes are on the beat, we would say, and the beat is also another word for the numbers that we're counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of those is called a beat, and when I'm playing a quarter note, it's going to be on a beat, usually, right? So we're going to play one quarter note on each beat, so we get to count along and play at the same time. So hopefully you'll find this one to be fun and even a little bit less challenging than the first two. Okay, let's go ahead and try example number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that was example number 3, we're using quarter notes. Okay, now we're going to mix them up. In example number 4, we're going to use just the open E string, just the note E, but we're going to get used to switching between these different rhythms. So in the first measure, we're going to have a whole note, and we'll play that E only once for all 4 counts. Second measure, we'll have 2 half notes, and we'll play the E twice during that measure, once on beat 1 and again on beat 3, right? In the third measure, we're going to play that same note all in quarter notes, so we're going to play on each beat, each time we count. Make sense? Okay, so you don't even really need this hand. It's all on the open E. And let's try it together. Example number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That was example number 4. Make sense? Now it's just the same note, but we're getting used to changing the rhythms. Okay, and example number 5 is the same as example number 4, only instead of E, we'll do this with the note F. Get a little practice holding down our note F here on the first fret. Okay, let's try this again. Example number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that was example number 5. In example number 6, it's exactly the same as example 4 and 5 in terms of rhythm, but now we're squeezing down a different note. Now we're going to use the third note that we learned today, which is on the 3rd fret of our high E, and that one is called G. Okay, same exercise on the note G. Go ahead and play along with me, please. Example number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's example number 6. Okay, now we're going to mix up the notes and the rhythms a little bit. So I wrote this little example here, and it's not meant to sound super musically interesting, so it's going to sound kind of boring, but we're just going to get used to how it will look in real music, where we won't really know until we play it what's going to happen, right? We'll have to, oh, the note goes over here, the note goes over there. It's going to be this type of note. It's going to be that type of note. We'll have to get used to that, right? So this is just a good way of taking everything we learned so far in this lesson and mixing it up, similar to how it would be in a real musical context, okay? So in the first measure, we're just going to have a whole note on E. Okay, in the second measure, we have 2 half notes, but they actually change notes. It starts on G for beats 1 and 2, and then on 3 and 4, we jump down to the F note, okay? Then, in the next measure, we have all quarter notes, and they alternate between G and F. So it's G, F, G, F. And in the final measure, we just have a whole note back on E again, okay? So take a minute, look at the music, look at your guitar, map it out in your mind before you even try. Okay, I think I got this. All right, and then we'll try together. So I'm going to go ahead and count you off, and we will try example number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, well, that was example number 7. Great job. So that's how this works, okay? We'll pick some notes pretty soon. Those 3 notes should be pretty comfortable for you. You should spend some time with just those and kind of get familiar with where they are. So when you see that in your music, you can just play that. As I mentioned in our last video about how the reading music relates to guitar, we do have other places to play these notes. Whoops, shouldn't have done that. I just messed up. So as I mentioned in our last video about how reading music relates to the guitar, we do have other places to play these notes on different strings too. But for now, it's cool to just get used to these. You see that E in that top space? Get used to knowing that that's high E, okay? Later on, you can find different places to play it as you get more and more sophisticated about this. But I think really, it's really good right now to just say, okay, that one's E. I memorized that. The open string is equal to the top space of E in the word face there, okay? Well, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson where we'll learn about the second string.